Okay, so today we're starting something new, right? So now we're getting deeper into the works of Ramchal. This is by far, I would say, the most kind of advanced work that we have studied. And I'm excited about it because, I mean, I've seen this a few times already, but it's different when you kind of, when you organize it in your head to kind of give it over, you start really understanding it. So I'm excited about just being able to do this. Now, I don't have really I don't have the intellectual capacity to really do this properly. So, but we're gonna just explore together to the best of our abilities, because you could try to do this as a way to boost your emunah, so to speak. You could try to do this as a way to boost your understanding of Hashem, which is kind of what we're also going to do. But I'm going to try to mostly just try to kind of understand the text, what the goal of the text was from the Ramchal, just internally understand the meaning of what he's trying to say and what he intends to say, why he says it. Try to work out as much as possible from what we have. Obviously, he's working on this text with the entire kind of, library of Judaism in his mind, and he's expressing this. So it would be great if we had such capacity, meaning besides that he was a huge genius, meaning let's say if I wanted to play chess, let's say for the rest of my life, for 1,000 years, nothing, right? I would probably never be good as Magnus Carlsen or Kasparov or any of those guys, just because their mind is just significantly more advanced than mine. And that's just in terms of intellectual capacity. Then when it comes to Torah, you have these geniuses whose brains are just supercomputers, and there's nothing I can do to come even anywhere close to that. On top of that, they were also holy people. So as Ramchal believes that there's wisdom that you get on your own, and there's wisdom that you receive, right? So on top of them being super geniuses, they were also super pure. So they received a lot of enlightenment that also we have no way, right? So the only thing that we could hope is that Hashem gives us a little bit of siyata d'shmaya to open our eyes a little bit to maybe appreciate what Ramchal is trying to tell us. That's number one. Number two is this book, this Daas Tevunos. Daas Tevunos was not, I didn't know this, but in already a few introductions that I saw, Daas Tevunos was not the original name of the Sefer. The Sefer was nameless. And they have 4 manuscripts of this Sefer in different libraries. One in Yerushalayim, one is in Moscow, one is in Harvard. I don't remember where the other one is. But 4 different places they have these manuscripts, and it's written in shorter versions, longer versions, right? Now this book is written in a dialogue form. There's a question and an answer. And the version that we have here is the dialogue between the neshama, the soul, and the seichel, the intellect. Okay, so there's a question why, in other manuscripts, it's a conversation between Mar Yanuka and Mar Kashisha. Mar Yanuka means a youth, and Mar Kashisha means an elder sage, right? Kashish means old. Mm-hmm. Yanuka means like, yoinik, like a nurture, a babe, almost like a child, right? So they say that Ramchal had a tendency to rewrite his works. So the one that is in Moscow, which is from the Ginsburg Library, they know that it is in the hand of the Ramchal, meaning it's a manuscript that was written by the Ramchal himself. The other manuscripts are his students that copied it down from other sources, right? One of them is by the student Rabbi Yisroel Gordon, who was the one by whose inadvertent boasting, I guess, the whole controversy with Ramchal started. This Rabbi Yisroel Gordon was basically visiting Italy from Lithuania, and he wrote a letter, and he studied under Ramchal for 2 years. And Ramchal over here in that introduction, it says over here that at the age of 20, he describes how at the age of 20, and he was doing some Kabbalistic meditation on Hashem's name, that all of a sudden he fell into a trance, and a Magid came to him, right? A Magid is a type of an angel, and it started teaching him all these Torahs. And the Yekutiel Gordon describes how he would learn in the Beis Medrash, and they would be learning so intently they wouldn't do they wouldn't talk any extra words, and the Ramchal would just sometimes would just put his head down for some 20 minutes, whatever it is, some time, and all of a sudden wake up and start writing, and he had he wrote many things. He had an 800 chapter or an 800 page work on Kahelas. He wrote the new Zohar. He wrote his own Tehillim. So he's and besides all of sort of little notes on Kabbalistic ideas and all sorts of things. And so when Rabbi Yisroel Gordon wrote all of these descriptions, the way it was, the way he is seeing this 20-year-old quote unquote kid, not married, single, all of a sudden producing these things. So it fell into the hands of this Rabbi Moshe Chagiz, and he started right away panicked because he suspected that he's a Shabtai Tzvi guy. And so right away he sent letters to Venice, and he told them you got to put a stop to his activities. So they called him to a Beis Din, and they basically made him swear that he's never going to teach any of the writings, any of the things that he hears from a Maggid or from one of these external sources, right? So he said, fine. Again, this is genius of geniuses, Ramchal, but he's cooperating fully with the Beis Din. They tell him don't do it. He says no problem, I won't do it, and he sticks to it. So he starts composing. So till that point, it says over there that he was writing mostly Aramaic works like the Zohar and like stuff like that, Kabbalistic works, and then like his own Zohar. I mean, Zohar Chodesh, the new Zohar.
Yekutiel Gordon.
Huh? No, Ramchal. Okay. And then he stopped and he would start writing his own Sforim and Kabbalah, but basically explaining his previous works. He didn't write any new, I guess, revelations that he received from any of the angels and whatnot. Then the controversy continued, I guess, and then he decided to he traveled. So he got married first. He got married to Tzipora. Coincidentally, his name is Moshe, right? His wife's name is Tzipora. So he traveled to other parts of Europe. They went north. And then when he stumbled, he was invited to Hamburg, and in Hamburg, he didn't know, but there was another Beis Din waiting for him, and they kind of accosted him, and they forced him to swear that he's not going to teach any Kabbalah whatsoever. And that's what, and he accepted that oath, and he didn't teach Kabbalah. Again, he writes over there in a letter to his Rabbi Shaya Basan, that he stopped teaching Kabbalah, but not really because of the oath, because he thinks really the oath is not valid, but he stopped teaching Kabbalah because he feels like the world is getting darker and it's just not the right time to teach this sort of things.
It was about 16th century?
This is, so Ramchal was born in 1707.
18th century.
And he died in 1747. He didn't get to turn 40 years old. So he was in Amsterdam for a while. So all those Sforim, like Mesilas Yesharim, Derech Hashem, all those Sforim are from that time period in Amsterdam. Daas Tevunos, on the other hand, seems to be from an earlier time, from the time where he was still in Padua. At least, again, I'm not sure again which manuscript is which. There's some discussions, Machloikas, which one is the So this author over here. This is, again, I'm not sure exactly who this person is, but his name is Rav Yosef Moshe Spiner. So he writes in the introduction that he thinks that the Mar Kashisha, the Mar Yenuka and the Mar Kashisha manuscripts are earlier and not fully finished works, and the Daas Tevunos, or the way we have it, is the more complete version. That's what he thinks. Okay. Now the other thing is, what's interesting about this sefer is that it uses absolutely no Kabbalistic terms. Unlike almost all of his other Sfarim, it's all Spherois, Partsufim, Tzimtzumim, all of these types of terminology. This sefer does not use any such terminology. And although in this version over here, there is a sefer called Sefer HaKlolim, or again, not the original name, where basically the Ramchal wrote the Kabbalistic concepts that parallel the kind of, let's call them, philosophical concepts that he discusses in Daas Tevunos, right? So if you study both together, you can understand how the philosophical concepts are explaining the Kabbalistic concepts. And then you can understand, right? So now, some people think that Ramchal's intention was really talk about Kabbalah, and the philosophic concepts is the way for you to just have a taste of Kabbalah. Kabbalah is the real understanding, and this is just it's just a roundabout way of telling you the other stuff. But this stuff is not the real wisdom. Others, again, like he says, and I lean more towards this side, even though I don't know Kabbalah, but that the non-Kabbalistic understanding of Kabbalah is actually the real thing. Meaning you don't necessarily have to use Kabbalistic terminology to understand the wisdom of Kabbalah. And that was the new thing that he was saying. He was able to actually deliver Kabbalistic ideas without using Kabbalah. Again, not just as a way to hint at Kabbalistic ideas, but rather to actually have you understand what is the underlying ideas behind the Kabbalistic ideas. Okay. And again, so this sefer is much deeper. In the beginning, it was gonna, for us who learned already Derech Hashem, the earlier kind of, it's numbered, the earlier sifim, let's call them, paragraphs, they're going to sound similar to what we already learned. But then he continues and he opens up these ideas, meaning unlike Derech Hashem laid out the map of Judaism. He didn't go deep into the reasons behind each part of the map. Okay? On the other hand, the Daas Tevunos actually does drill deeper into the whole logic. The framework is much more complete. Okay? So therefore, this really is like an incredible work of Judaism, understanding really what is the logical framework of Judaism. And the Ramchal's, in my view, Ramchal's, I don't know what's going to say it, Ramchal's extraordinariness is the ability to put every idea in its proper place. Okay? So even though you can take a same pasuk or a same Gemara that you're familiar, you've heard it 1,000 times, but when you see where Ramchal puts it in his framework, it completely transforms the explanation of that piece of Gemara, that to such a degree that in some places, to me, it almost sounds like heresy. I mean, again, we'll have to wait till we get there, see if we can understand it. But it's like some of the things that he says in this sefer to me are very, very controversial, like very unusual.
Not mainstream.
What I think it's not mainstream, although obviously this sefer is considered, mainstream. Okay, I'm shutting this up here. Let me just fine. So let's just dig into it at this point. Let's just dig into this in this point, okay. Let's see. Okay, so there are different versions even in the print that we have. So we might not, if there's something that doesn't match between yours and mine, you will let me know. But so this version that I have here is again Rabbi Friedlander's version, divided besides Ramchal's numbering system, which is just 190 paragraphs, numbered paragraphs altogether, 190 paragraphs. He also divided by theme, because there's divisions, thematic divisions. So he just actually conveniently divided for us. So the first one is Chayveseinu lehavin es anhagas Hashem, our obligation to understand the way Hashem runs the world. So Amra HaNeshama. So let's see. Amra HaNeshama. So the Neshama says, so again, this is a kind of dialogue, right? So very similar, right? The dialogue form, which I don't know. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of the dialogue form. Somehow I'm not used to it. Plato, was one of the earlier originators of this type of style of presentation, where and there are many other philosophical works are written in dialogue form. So I'm not sure why he uses the dialogue form for this work, and I'm not sure why the dialogue between neshama and seichel. I do know that seichel, when he means seichel over here, he doesn't mean just regular human intellect. He means what's called seichel anivdal, the completely removed intellect, like the ultimate intellect. And why he used the neshama here, I'm not sure, because to us, bless you, to us the neshama is something also very lofty, and it shouldn't have any questions, right? And shouldn't be the one asking questions and getting answers from the seichel. But what I'm understanding, perhaps the reason is when we think about, the Gemara talks about the difference between a navi and a chacham, a prophet and a sage and a chacham. So the Gemara says chacham odif min navi, that a sage, a wise person, is greater than a prophet. Why is that? So the Maharal explains in his introduction to Gvuras Hashem is that a chacham, a navi, is a chayze, is a seer, right? Mm. So he sees spiritually visions, but at the same time, he can only see things that he has already had experienced to some degree, right? So a navi can visualize certain things and instinctively understand them. On the other hand, a chacham, a seichel, can actually, by process of logical reasoning and what's the word, in process of elimination, he could actually figure out things that he himself has not experienced.
And by education.
Right. So you can go farther than neshama perhaps understands Hashem's plan on some basic level and can feel it, can see it, can sense it, maybe even in some degree feel it better than a seichel, right? You can tell a person, if a person has never tasted a mango, right? And versus a person who has tasted a mango. So you can say, how does a mango taste? Well, it's sweet, but it's like, it's an exotic type of a sweet, not a usual type of a sweet. Like, to explain it, you could write a whole book explaining what a mango tastes like to a person who has never tasted the mango, right? On the other hand, by seichel, he might figure out something about the nature of the mango that a person who just tasted it doesn't necessarily have, right? So that's my understanding. My neshama is just the basic sense, the basic ideas, the feeling of it, while the seichel is actually giving you the intellectual framework behind it. So again, let's dig in. So Amra HaNeshama. So the neshama says, Taiva, see my desire. Taiva, right? This is Taiva. Mm-hmm. She has a Taiva, V'rutzoni, and my desire, my want, lihis yashev, to delve al k'tzaz dvorim ma'oisum shenemar b'hem, from certain things with regards to which it says v'ashevoiso el levavecha, and you should kind of repeat it into your heart. Ki hu Hashem hu Elokim, that Hashem is also the Elokim, right? The God. Hashem is also the God. Hashem, the Creator, is also the Elokim. He is the force of forces. Mm-hmm. Right? So Ramchal understands this pasuk, and we saw this already also in Derech Hashem, that Vashivoiso Levavecha, he understands it as a requirement, that you can't just be a man of faith and say, okay, I believe, and that's it. No, Vashivoiso Levavecha, you have to constantly reaffirm your faith. Again, faith is believe, right? Believe, okay, I believe in God, good, I'm done. No. What does your belief in God mean? What exactly do you believe in, right? So in Ramchal's understanding, faith is depth, is understanding. It's much more than just a belief. So he sees in this passage that you have to resettle it in your heart, that you have to constantly delve deeper in understanding what is Hashem and why is He Elokim, etc. Right? So the Neshama says, that's what I want to understand more what this means. Harehem mi'ikre ha'emuna. These are the essentials of emunaseinu, of our faith. shechayev kol odom lirdoif acharei diyosam, that each person is obligated to chase, to pursue after its full knowledge. Kol asher tasig yodo, as much as his hand can reach. Right? So again, even neshama understands that I have a responsibility to understand God and the faith of God as much as possible, and I need you, the seichel, to help me figure it out. So Omer seichel, so seichel responds, Ono fanecha moyedois, what direction are you leaning? Right? Hine ha'ikarim hem yud gimel. The ikarim, the fundamentals, are 13. Right? What fundamentals are you talking about? He's talking about the 13 Ikrei HaEmunah of the Rambam. Mm-hmm. Okay? The 13 Ikrei HaEmunah of the Rambam that are printed in every siddur. Right?
13 постулатов веры.
Right, exactly. Now, again, why did he pick the Rambam? Because again, it's very interesting if you think about it. I don't know, I'm not sure. We're gonna see as we go along. We're gonna delve deeper into this question. But this 13, postulates of faith are not agreed by everybody. Okay, meaning according to the Rambam, if you don't believe in any of those 13, you're a heretic, and possibly ein lo chelik l'olam haba. A person might not have chelik in olam haba, because the Gemara in Perek Chelik, right, says Kol Yisrael meishlam chelik l'olam haba. All Jews have a chelik l'olam haba, except. And it says somebody who doesn't believe in Tchias HaMeisim, somebody, right? So there are certain things that if you don't believe, we don't accept, you're not accepting to Olam Haba. That's what the Mishnah says. So the Rambam's 13, he collected these 13, seems to be saying, Ikrei HaEmunah, these are the 13 fundamentals, principles of faith. Now others, like Rabbi Yosef Albo and, the Akeda, they said maybe some said maybe only 6 are really the fundamental, and then some say only 4, maybe some say only 3. So they narrow it down to other principles. So he takes the Rambam as his. Now you could say maybe he takes the Rambam as just because he's trying to speak to as wider audience as possible, and he doesn't. The Rambam is printed in the Siddur. Everybody knows the Rambam's 13 principles of faith, and so he's not getting involved into the nitty gritty of that part of it. What's fundamental and what's not really fundamental. He just wants to get into the topics that he wants to get into. I think that he specifically, if I remember correctly, but this time, because this really appeared to me one time, the only Rishon that he quotes in this book, he'll quote the Zohar, he quotes the Yerushalmi, the Talmud, the Midrashim, but the only Rishon that he quotes in this book, by name, is the Rambam, which is surprising, right? Which is surprising. Why is that surprising? Because Ramchal is like Kabbalah. The Rambam, as reputation has it, Kabbalah. What's Kabbalah, right? He's a rationalist, as they say, right? So the Ramban, if anybody mentions, if you want somebody who's like on the level of the Rambam from the Kabbalistic school, so the Ramban is your go-to personality, right? Never mentions the Ramban. Okay, so he's talking, in other words, he's talking from himself, and the only Rishon that he can connect with is the Rambam. Clearly, that shows that he did not. He didn't feel that there was a contradiction between the Rambam's world of Pshat and rationalism and whatnot, and his world, Kabbalah. Okay, fine. So let's see. So the neshama asked, "Teach me about ideas of faith so I have a better understanding." And he says, "Okay, which there's 13. Va'al eize mehem tirtzili hisbainen. Which of these do you want to contemplate about?" So Amra Neshama, Neshama responds back, Hine kol ha'ikorim hayud gimel, the entire 13 principles, Hine hem mu'mosim atzli, they are, I don't know how to translate this, but they are mu'mosim, meaning they are truth to me, and they were truthful to me, bli shum safek klal, without any doubt whatsoever. Aval, Yesh mehem shehem mu'mosim li. There are those that appear as truth to me. V'gam muvonim, and they are also understood by me. V'yesh mehem, but there are those shehem mu'mosim li b'emuna. They are truth to me as a faith. Ach lo mevuorim min havona v'hidiyah. But they're not clear to me from understanding and from knowledge. Okay, these are these words in the title. Maybe that's where it comes from. Havana, understanding, vayidiyah, knowledge. Daas Tevunos, right? Understanding and knowledge. So, okay. So again, I'm not sure what the neshama over here means. That they are the 13 principles are truth to her, but only some of them are fully understood, but the others are not fully understood.
Truth.
But they are truth. But they're not fully understood.
Okay.
So why? So what does it mean? How is it something that is truth to you, but it's not fully understood? Either it's faith. You could say it's faith to me. I believe it because I have to, right? But then it's not. What's not evident to me. Over here, she's saying that they're evident to her, but they're just not fully understood. So, like I said, the neshama feels things, perhaps, and again, has a sense that yes, this is how things work, but what's the mechanics of it that she doesn't fully appreciate, and that's what she wants to figure out. What's the mechanics of these things? Okay, so let's see. Omar Seichel. So the Seichel responds, "Eizemu mosim lecha," so which are evident to you, ve'ezemu vu'orim lecha, and which are even clear to you. So Omar Neshama says back, Hine Metzius Hashem, the existence of God. Let's count these. Metzius Hashem, Yechudoi, His oneness, Nitzchiyusoi, His infinity, Ve'yoyse Chutz Min Aguf, V'kol Mikri Aguf, and that He's not a physical body, right? Chidush Ha'olam, that the world was created ex nihilo, right, from nothing, right? Again, not every Jewish rabbi, sage, believed that the world is created from nothing. There are those that believe that the world had some sort of a form even before, or it's not form, but some sort of a substance maybe, before it, forever. Okay? So clearly those rabbis don't hold of all the 13 principles of faith. And according to the Rambam, those rabbis have no chelik l'olam, possibly. So again, it's not like a, I don't know how we understand all of this, but okay. So Chidush Ha'olam, where are we up to? I already lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nevuah, that there is such a thing as prophecy. 6. Nevuah's Moshe, that Moshe's Nevuah is even greater. Torah min hashamayim, that Hashem's Torah is God-given. V'nitzchiyus shaloi tishtane, and it's eternal, that it should not be changed. So how many is that? That's 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. It should be 9, I think.
There's a 9.
Maybe, I'm not sure which one. No. So Nitzchiyus is that it doesn't change. That's the 9th one. That it's God given, and that that's one, and then it's not going to change. That's a separate one. So that's 9. Okay. So 9 out of the 13. Kol advarim ha'ela. These ones, anima menes, I believe in them. V'anima vinosim, and I understand them. And so I don't need an explanation in them. Now, us, we could start earlier. We could get an explanation even before this. But let's see. Aval hashgacha. So which ones does she have a problem with? Hashgacha, God's providence, schar ve'oinish, reward and punishment, bias HaMashiach, right? The coming of Mashiach, utchias HaMeisim, and a revival of the dead. I believe in them certainly, because it's my obligation. But I really would like to understand a logic that will calm me down, comfort me, soothe me. Right? So the four are again the 4: providence, reward and punishment, Mashiach, and Tchias HaMeisim. Okay, so again, if I had to pick the list, maybe I wouldn't be so interested in these 4. I would perhaps be more interested in the previous 9. But in truth is, as we see along, he doesn't just focus on these four. As a result of these four, he opens up most of the other ones as well. Or I don't know most, but some of the other ones as well. What is interesting, and I don't know if this is just a coincidence. This is not my idea. I heard this idea. So you have Yud Gimel Ikrei HaEmunah, right? Yud Gimel articles of faith. We also have something else that's Yud Gimel, and that's Yud Gimel Midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, the Yud Gimel Midos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu appear in the Torah twice. Once after the Chet HaEgel, and the other one is after the Chet HaMeraglim. Right? Except by the Chet HaMeraglim, they don't appear as full 13. They only have, Moshe Rabbeinu only quotes 9 in some kind of a condensed form. So there's two forms of the Yud Gimel Midas. There's the strong form, the complete form of the 13, and then there is the weaker form of the 9. Okay? So is it coincidence? So question is are the Yud Gimel Midas of Emunah have anything to do with the Yud Gimel Midas of Rachamim? Question one. Question number two is there a coincidence that there's Neshama is interested in these particular, the 9 are okay, and the 4 are the ones that are missing. And the 4, the ones that are missing, are the ones that have to do with not the past. The other ones are all really in the past. That Hashem spoke to Moshe, that Moshe is Nevuah, that there is Torah min Hashamayim, that Hashem created the world. All of that is in the past. The one that the neshama is concerned with are the present and the future. How does Hashem guide the world? How does He punish? What's going to be in the future with Mashiach? What's going to be in the future with Chiyas HaMeisim? Right. So the ones that are in the back, the neshama is not worried about. It's the like, how do I live my life now? Right. And where are we going in the future? That's what the neshama wants to know. Okay. So let's see. Omar Seichel. So Seichel responds, Mahu hamiskash loch bezeh. What is difficult for you in this? So Omar Neshama. Neshama says, Hamisibois hagedolos, the great turn of events, Hamishapchois, that are turning ba'olam in the world, Hamarois tomid lechoira hepech ha'ashgacha, that seem to point always opposite of what is providence. Right. So again, very apropos that we're kind of learning this right now, I think. Right? Yeah. So the world events seem to show opposite of the hashgacha. Meaning if Hashem is running the show, why are the things that are happening in the world do not conform to his rules? Right? Kol shekain sheheina svara roya soifa inyonim. Certainly the logic, it cannot see the end of these things. Lehechen heim magim, where are they going? Ma roitze ha'odon baruch hu b'briyosef. What does Hashem want from His creations? Ulema human menahalom, and to what end does He lead them? Does He guide them? Uma acharis kol eila, and what is the end of all of these? Ki masei Hashem yisborach nira behem roichev kol kal godel. The actions of Hashem, they're so wide, she'ein shum leiv makiloison, that no heart can contain them. V'ha'isi roitze, so therefore I wanted shetelamdeni derech yishara, that you should teach me a straight way, lehavin yosher ha'inyonim ha'ela, to understand the straight ideas of these straight way of these ideas. Mebilti natoisim minusmo, without, so I should not what's the word? Veer off right or left. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we see in the world things, right? Again, this joke that comes up, right? A guy goes to Shamayim and he tells God a dark joke about the Holocaust, right? And God says it's not funny. And he tells him another joke about the Holocaust, and God says that's not funny. He says, I guess you have to be there. Right? I mean, that's the question. The question is, we see things in the world that just doesn't seem to fit with Hashem running the show. So how could there be, I believe that Hashem is in charge, but then I see things that seem to point that Hashem is not in charge. So what's going on? So Amar HaSeichel, Seichel responds, Aval yesh bekan dvorim koshim ve'amukim. Mo'oid. There are certain things here that are very difficult and very deep. Going tzaddik v'raloi. That a tzaddik, there could be a tzaddik v'raloi, and he has a bad life. But Rasha, and you could have a Rasha v'toivloi, and he has a good life. Shiniskashu al gedolich achom neviim. That regarding these things, our great sages and even our great prophets had difficulty with. But afilu Moshe Rabbeinu, and even Moshe Rabbeinu himself, so these things are impossible for us to understand, to grasp. So Amar Neshama says back, Hapratim shloi ucha lehavin, and ine the details that I am not able to understand, I'll leave them behind. In other words, the neshama is just a ploy, right? But the neshama kind of tells us that even though these things are not understood, or at least the Ramchal believes that doesn't mean that they are not at all understood. You might not be fully understood, but there is an understanding that we can have in these things on some level, right? So what the neshama is saying back is that protim shloi ucha lahavin. So the details that I'm not able to understand, hine I'm going to leave alone. But let me have at least the general principles in my hand arranged in a straight way. I should see some guiding principles that explain the huge field of these matters. Right? Again, where does the Ramchal get this thing? Because since he understands that pasuk that says that I have to resettle these things in my heart, so he understands that if I have an obligation to think about these things, because he believes that you have an obligation to constantly digest the topics of Emunah, right? And Ashgacha, and what that pasuk is telling, Hashem is also Elakim, Hashem the Creator is also Elakim the guide. So you have to be constantly reassessing these things. So clearly, if Hashem is telling me to reassess these things, I must be able to understand them on some level. If it was just a question of faith, believe and goodbye, right? So why are you telling me to keep thinking about it, right? So that's how, again, maybe you could have argued not that way. Maybe you could have said, Vashivosa just means reaffirm your faith, because just because you see these things, you have to remember, close your eyes and say, whatever I see is false. And I just believe Hashem is right, and that's it. Right? And some people have that sort of faith, that, you just close your eyes to what's going on. Science is fake, and this is fake news, and I believe the Torah, and goodbye. Right? And the Ramchal is saying, no, that's not the way. The way is you have to constantly reassess, think, and digest. Will you be able to know fully? No, you will not understand all the details, but you should have enough understanding that you will understand that the picture is correct, right? Enough understanding to clearly indicate that the picture has a logical sense to it. Okay. So that's what the neshama is saying. So just give me some straight principles that will help me see the logical framework. So Omer HaSeichel, Zeh Vadai. That is certain. Sha'Kodesh Baruch Hu Heikim Oilomoi Ala Mishpat. There is certain that Hashem set up the world based on justice. Uminahagoi b'mishpat yosher v'ne'eman. And he certainly also guides the world in straight justice and trustworthy justice. That's something that you should see clear without any doubt. Just like the great shepherd, the trustworthy shepherd testified, Hatzur, the rock, Tomim Paoloi. His actions are Tomim, are pure. Kikol Drachav Mishpat. All of his ways are justice. Kel Amunah, he's a trustworthy God. Ve'ein Oval, and there's no perversion. Tzaddik, he's righteous. Ve'yosher Hu, and he is straight. Right? So he's saying, you're right, that we have this description of God as being totally set on logic, straightness, and justice, and righteousness. Right? So that's definitely true. So Omra Neshama, but Neshama says, Yosher HaMishpat Hazeh, the straightness of this justice, V'oimek ha'etza ha'shleima hazoy shezacharta, and the depth of this counsel that is perfect, that you just mentioned, This is the actual thing that I want to hear from you in clearly explained. Dover al buria, each thing in clarity. Right? Okay, so that's what we want. We want to understand this idea, Hatzur Tamim Pa'aloi, that Hashem is the rock, that is pure action, and again, all of his ways are justice. Okay, so that's the again. Keep that pasuk in mind. That's what the Ramchal is going to explain to us first. How does Hashem run the world with justice? So Omar HaSeichel. So the Seichel now starts. Ach ma shetzorich levara rishoina. However, the first thing I need to explain to you, who inyan mitzius ha'adam, is the idea of the existence of Adam, of man. V'ha'avoida hamutelas alav, and the service that is placed upon him. Ledas mahu hatachlis anirtze b'chol zois. So you would know what is the desired outcome of all of this. Okay? So again, the Ramchal's system of logic, again, maybe it's just basic system of logic, is that, let's say you have a problem that you don't understand something, right? Why don't we understand a particular, so we come to a certain math problem, we don't understand it, we can't solve it. We can't solve it because we don't have a proper introduction to certain ideas. We 2 plus 2, let's give it simple, 2 plus 2, right? I know what 2 is, but I still can't solve it because I don't know what plus is. So I need to be taught what is the idea of plus. Once I know the idea of plus, then I can solve the problem, right? So these are called hagdomas. So every time you don't understand something, it's because you need some kind of a hagdoma. Somewhere there's a missing introduction, so to speak, some preparatory idea that's missing, prerequisite idea. So that's what he's saying. So he says, I can't teach you right now the idea of God's justice because we need to first know, well, why did Hashem create the world, the world, or the man in the first place? What's the point? What's the goal? So Omer Neshama. So Neshama says back, that's certainly something that requires a lot of understanding, a lot of answering, really. Lehavino al buria, to really understand it fully, b'chol chalokov, in all of its chalokim, divisions. Again, if we have enough time, at some point, we'll delve deeper into this, because again, Neshama is this foil, right? This foil character, is that the right word for it? It's like there's Sherlock Holmes and then there is Dr. Watson, right? What's the point of Dr. Watson? Dr. Watson is there to illustrate the genius of Sherlock Holmes, right? Without Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes does not appear such a genius, right? It's only because there's Dr. Watson says, oh wow, I never thought of this, so then you really feel like a Sherlock Holmes is something special.
Elementary Watson.
Right. So over here too, the Neshama is teaching us also something about the way we need to be understanding the words of the Seichel, right? So again, the words of Neshama is not just, okay, I'll ask you questions and the Seichel is really the answers. You have to really also delve deeper into the words of the Neshama, is the way asks the question, the way it kind of reaffirms what the Seichel is saying, but padakive, because that's what it does a lot, and a padakive to the Seichel. Anyway, so he says over here, certainly it's something that needs to be understood b'chol chalokov, in all of its parts.
The details. Okay,
right, not the details. There's difference in the Ramchal's language. Details and parts are different things, right? Because chalokim is to divide. So these are divisions, right? Pratim is details, right? Anyway, so let's see. Number 14. Omar HaSeichel, Hayisoid HaRishon Shalav Omed Kol HaBinyan, the first foundation upon which the entire binyan, the entire structure stands. And then again, we saw this already in Derech Hashem. Shirotza HaRotzain HaElyon, that the uppermost will decided, the desire, Odom Mashlim Es Atzmoy, that a person, the human being that he created, should perfect himself. Mashlim Es Atzmoy, should perfect himself. Ve'eskol HaNivra B'Shviloy, and everything that was created for his sake. Right? So the human being is the pinnacle of creation, and everything that's created for his sake will be perfected if the human being perfects himself. Ve'zeh Atzmoy Yiyaz Chusoy Uschoroy. And this itself will be his schus, his merit, and his reward. Again, this is a fundamental line. And and this thing itself will be his merit and his reward. What does that mean? His merit and his reward. Let's see, he's going to elaborate. Zchusoi, his merit, because it's going to come out that he's misasek, that he is toiling, v'yogeya, again toiling, lehasig hashleimus hazeh, is he toiled and he reached this perfection, right? In other words, chusoi is what you zasluga, right? Zasluga means merit. Is what you earned.
It's a merit.
Right, again, earned is not a good word. I just want to. There is the slujul is what you're
merited.
Getting,
merited,
right? You're getting. This is your this is your merit. I mean your
honors.
No, I specifically want to say not. Right? There's what?
Bonus.
No, bonus is what you get. It's not. That's what I'm saying. That's the schoroi part. That's the reward part. Schus is what you got, what you achieved. There you go. So it's his. So his perfection is both his achievement and his reward.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that if you achieve perfection, then you will get reward. No. He's saying it's schusoi and schoroi. The achievement of perfection is both the achievement and the reward.
And
right. Okay? So the perfection is both the achievement and the reward. Schusoi uschoroi. Schusoi because he himself accomplished it. That's his schus, that's his merit. He worked on it and he accomplished it. And when he reaches it, he will then benefit rak mi'gia kapov v'chelkoi mikol amoloi. He will benefit only because of something that he himself produced, his portion that he accomplished. Now that's his achievement. Schoroi, and it's also his reward. Sheharei soif soif hu hamushlam, because in the end, who is the perfected one? He is perfected. And at that point, he will bask in that goodness, which is perfection. Because what could be better? What can you get better than perfection? If you perfected yourself, that's the best thing that you can possibly get. So it's both your achievement and it's also your reward, because there's nothing better than perfection. So once you achieve that perfection, you will then bask in its pleasure forever and ever, right? So Omra Neshama. Again, we're going to stop just in a few minutes. Omra Neshama, Ze Yesoid Shekoilel Pinois Rabbis. That's a fundamental statement, foundation, but it includes many branches. Vehineni mamtenes l'shmoya ma tiboneh al hayisoid hazeh. So I'm waiting eagerly to know what will you build on this foundation. She'oz avchin lemafreya, then I will understand retroactively ma nichlal bayisoid hazeh, what is included in this foundation. Ach davar echad eshel tchila b'chlal. But let me first ask you something general. Hayesh tam, is there a reason? Loma rotza harotzin ha'elim b'davar hazeh. Is there a reason why Hashem wants this thing? Okay? Is there a reason why Hashem wants this thing? Which thing? Which thing? Which thing? Is it the creation of a person, or is it the creation of a person and giving him the ability to perfect himself? Or is it both? I'm not quite sure, right? But why does Hashem want this thing? He created the human being. Why does He want to create him? Let's go with that for now. Omar HaSeichel. So the Seichel says, Hatam Poshut. The answer is simple. Okay. V'hu tolui b'tshuva shayla acheres. But it's dependent on an answer to another question. Shehi, what's the question? Loma rotza aboire baruchu livroi hanivroim. Oh, so it's like this. So Neshama is asking, why does Hashem want me to perfect myself? Why did He set up a system that Hashem wants me to perfect Himself? And the Seichel responds, but first we need to know, why does Hashem create a person in the first place? So answer, please, for me, the answer that will answer both you and me. So what Seichel responds, what we are able to appreciate, to understand, to grasp in this Inyan, this idea, right? In other words, he just reached a point which doesn't really have a good answer. So it's weird because he just responded Hatam Poshut. The reason is simple. But first we need to answer a bigger question: why did Hashem create human beings in the first place? So, but to that question, he doesn't have a good answer because he answers the only thing that we can grasp with regards to this question, Ki hakel izbarach shmoi hu tachlis hatoiv vade, because Hashem, blessed be His name, is the ultimate, right, ideal, possible good, certainly, or the perfect good that could possibly exist. Va'amnam, however, mechoik hatoiv hu lehetiv, but the nature of good is to bestow good, right? The nature of good is to bestow good. V'zeh ma shirotza hu yizbarach shmoi. So this is what Hashem wants. Livroi nivroim, to create creations, kidei sheyuchol lehetiv lahem, so that He should then be able to bestow benefit upon them. Kim ein mekabel hatoiv, because if there's no recipient of good, ein hatova, then there is no good, right? So again, so we can't, obviously we understand that Hashem good? The answer is no. Hashem, in His essence, we cannot give Him any kind of characterization. Even a good characterization would not be applicable, right? So the only thing that we understand is that Hashem, for some reason, decided that He wanted to bestow goodness upon some entity. We don't fully understand really why, but assuming that He's the ultimate perfection and goodness is something along those lines, that He wanted to bestow goodness upon some entity, and in order to do that, He needed a recipient of that good. Okay, again, does that fully answer the question? No. But is that because we cannot, past a certain point, we cannot understand. But it's the start. That's the starting point. The starting point is that the goodness of HaKadosh Baruch Hu requires a recipient. Va'amnam, however, kidei shetiya hatova shleima. However, if we want the benefit, the goodness to be perfected, to be perfect, to be complete, Yoda b'chachmasa henizgava, He knew in His lofty wisdom, sheroya sheya mekabli moisa, that He knew that the ones who are receiving this good, mekabli moisa biyagia kappa, that those that receive it have to receive it as a result of their own efforts. Ki oz yiyu heim balei atovahu, because then they will be the masters of that good. And they will not have any remnant of embarrassment when they receive this good. Just like somebody who received tzedakah from another person. Right? So in other words, when you receive a charity, a kickback, a charity, you don't feel full satisfaction. Again, that's a feeling, but there's a more fundamental reason is that perfection means being as similar to God as possible, and since God is the master of His own everything, so too the thing that He wants to bestow goodness on also should be as much as possible the master of everything, right? So Hashem says, here, I'll make you in charge of this world. You kind of, right? What does it say? Go conquer it and subjugate it, right? You are the master of this world, right? Lift it up, bring it up, elevate it, and then you will be similar to God. And then you, so to speak, you have chiseled out your own reward. Balzeh omru, again, this is what they say in Yerushalmi, man de ochil de lav delay, somebody who's eating something that's not his, bohis listakuli be'apei. He's embarrassed to look at the face of a person who gave him the food. Okay, there's just a few more lines. Omra neshama atam misyashiv belibi. So this reason is settled in my heart. Ato hashlem devarecha. Now, why don't you complete your ideas? So Omer Seichel, min ha'akdoma asher hikdamnu, from this introduction that we've introduced, yotzu lono shoyrish godol lehizboinen lov. There, we have received a big root, okay, that we can contemplate upon. V'hu inyan ha'chisaroin v'hashleimusoi. Oh, 1 second. Stop. Pause for a second. So we had two questions. One question was, why did Hashem want us to achieve our own perfection? And why did Hashem create humans in the first place? So the answer that we got is that the nature of good is to bestow good. Therefore, that's the reason to create humans. And the reason why the toil has to be accomplished on his own is so that the good is complete, because without achievement, that goodness is not going to be complete. You will always have that remnant of what is called remnant of embarrassment.
Something
right?
is
So that's
given
how,
to you, yeah.
right.
Instead
That's the
of
answer to that question.
married.
Okay, and now we're going to open up the next. I'm going to stop at this point. Just introduce it. Is that so? The next idea is that once you introduce the concept that a person is intended to perfect himself, that means right now he is created in a state of imperfection, right? Or which is called what he calls chisaron, right? Lack, right? So let's see. Omar Seichel min ha'akdoma asher hikdamnu, from the introductions that we introduced. Yotzu lono shorish godol lehizboinen lov. There is a root that we have to contemplate upon. V'hu inyan ha'chisaron v'ha'ushleimusoi. The idea of lack, right? Something missing, chisaron, ushleimusoi, and then perfecting that lack. Ki ato tzorich ledas, because now you need to know mahu hachisaron, what is the state of this imperfection, umahu toldoisov, and what are the consequences, umati hu tikunoi, and what is the way to fix it, shetishalim boyas abriya, that you should be able to perfect the creation, ve'eza derech heyosois hatikun hazeh, and how, in what way is this tikkun accomplished? Umahem taldoisav, and again, what are the consequences of this tikkun? Right. So again, once you understand that Hashem created the person imperfect, and he has to achieve the perfection, then you need to know, well, what makes him imperfect, right? What is the nature of that imperfection, and what is the nature of perfection, and what's the bridge between this current state of imperfection to the future state of perfection. Okay, and that's where it now opens up to the rest of the sefer. So again, so we started. Like these concepts, I don't think are new to us, right? We just kind of laying out the project, the map of the project. We understand, we heard these ideas before, but like I said, it's going to get significantly more complicated and significantly more broad. Okay.
So we